Hello everyone, welcome back in another video. Today date is 18th of October 2022 and in our today's video we are going to see communication in between HTML and TypeScript. So as we know in our Angular project that time we are using a TypeScript as a language in our Angular. That means TypeScript is nothing but it is the next version of a JavaScript. That means when we are writing a business logic or code within our Angular in a TypeScript, that TypeScript language get converted automatically in a JavaScript. So that is the exact its conversion. So we in this video we are going to see what exactly functional or what the building of their communication is included in a JavaScript in a Angular. Suppose when we are creating any new project in our Angular, that time we pass the command for the creating a new project. That time we simply write a ng new and the name of that particular project. After that, the project gets generated. When the project gets generated, that time there was some default files are there. Some default files are like src, environment, app file, like this files are presence are there like this files are presence there. That means we can also called as a component for that. So in all those components we can discuss in another day. Now we are going to see app.component file. In that app.component file there was a containing four components. These four components like app.html, app.css, app.ts and yeah, and spec.ts. These are four files are there. So these four files we can see briefly. So within first component that is our app.component HTML. Within that HTML file, we are writing a structure of our UI. That means we know the Angular can work for a front end. That means the front end means the that interface which can visible for a user, and we are writing the code for that particular UI, particular user interface, and that structure will be generated within our HTML. That means the size of the boxes in our page. Suppose there is any login page, that time the location of that login ID, location of that login password, then submit button, then login button. So exactly what they actually their location of that buttons and what are the different ergonomics for that particular page. That logic or that structure is written in our HTML file. So that HTML file is having internally connected with our Spring. That means whenever the user can give some input, that input comes in our Angular, and that Angular get connected with our HTML file. That HTML file is a front end, and that file is connected with the Spring. That Spring containing a business logic, as you know that Spring containing a business logic. That logic get checked as per the input what result should be written to the user or for return to the Angular. That should be dependence on our Spring logic, and that Spring logic get connected with the database. If we have to fetch any data from database, that time we simply passing the command in our Angular. That Angular pass that command to the Spring, and Spring pass that command to the database. If the condition is true, that time the data which is stored within our database, that data can be transferred to the Spring, Spring to the HTML, and HTML to the UI. That means UI can display that particular detail which they want from our database. So that is the basic connection between the HTML and our Spring database and UI. After that, the next component is a app.css. That means our HTML component only gives the ergonomics. That means it only gives the positional, locational syntax. Like that means the size of button or location of that particular button, or number of tables we need in that set. So that kind of structure is given by the our Angular, our HTML. But for make some attractive or for giving some aesthetic for the our UI, that time we are using a CSS. That means by using a CSS, we are able to apply the font size, color, background pages, border, lines, tables, and etc. That means all type of editing or styling can be done within a CSS. There also basically we know the three types of CSS are there. That means the inline CSS. That means in our HTML page we are directly able to give a inline CSS. That means we directly put the CSS line between that code. After that, the secondary is a inner CSS. That means within our HTML page we create another class. Within our HTML place we create another class, and by using that class we directly put the particular CSS for the particular elements. After that, the next third type is the external CSS. In the external CSS, we are create a random CSS page and we link that page, CSS page to our HTML page. That means we are giving the connectivity from that CSS page to the HTML page. That means what kind of data is written in our CSS page that directly implement in our HTML page. So that overall result is shows on a UI. After that, the next component is our app.ts. App.ts stands for TypeScript. It is one of the components which are very important in Angular. TypeScript containing a logic. That means it is a similar as our Java language, but it is a slightly different as compared to the JavaScript. So that is not so different. It is the next version of a JavaScript. TypeScript is the next version of a JavaScript. That's why we are recommended to use TypeScript in Angular, and the TypeScript after that converted into the JavaScript. So we have to prepare a TypeScript because of the syntax of TypeScript is easy as compared to the JavaScript, or the LOC should be reduced when we are using a TypeScript. Because of some of this reason, we are using a TypeScript. That is our third point. Within the TypeScript is connected with our HTML by the internally. After that, the fourth component is our testing component. That component are only used for a testing purpose. That is not matter in our development. So this is overall connection between our HTML and TypeScript. We know that our HTML is a hypertext markup language, that is we are using for a UI, and our TypeScript is we are using for a business logic, and both these things are combined together, and we create any particular UI page with the functional data and with the functional features. So this is all about connection between HTML and TypeScript. Thank you.